Right, I thought I'd do a quick comparison on mid-range breakers. Right, so when we talk about mid-range breakers, we're talking about 5 kilo breaker, which is typically something like this. Now this, right, is the Hitachi H45MEY, and that's actually 7 kilos, right? It's still classed as a 5 kilo breaker. It's got 8.5 joules impact energy. So we move on to this, right? This is the Bosch GSH7. This weighs just short of 8 kilos, so only a kilo heavier than the mid-range breaker, but this is classed as your 7 kilo breaker, which is the next step up, even though this weighs 7 kilos, is classed as a 5, and this weighs just a little under 8 kilos and is classed as a 7 kilo breaker. This hits a lot harder. This is 13 joules impact energy, which is typical for your 7 kilo class breaker. Now I just want to illustrate the difference between the two hacking off render, because it strikes me that all the new breakers that you see on the market now are all moving in this direction, where they're actually getting a bit bulkier and a bit heavier, but they're still hitting with the same strength. Now anyone who knows that uses these breakers for prolonged periods of time knows that obviously the lighter the better, and once you start getting over waist height up to sort of your torso, your chest height, it becomes quite strenuous with the fatigue over a long time. So the lighter the better, but at the same time you want to hit hard so that you can increase the rate of your work, make it quicker taking stuff off, and therefore you won't be having to hold it in position and going through the fatigue that you encounter doing that, with obviously the extra time spent and the weight of it. So the quicker it hacks off the better. So I just wanted to show you the difference between these two, because as I say, this one only weighs 1 kilo more than this one, and you don't really notice that extra weight. It's not something you notice too much, but obviously the power of this one is getting on to double the power of this one. So this hits much harder than that one, but they're virtually the same weight. Get your head around that. Anyway, have a look at this. Let's get you in position somewhere. I just want to show you this, because this is what it's about. You want to hack off this wall, you want to do it as quickly as possible. So let's go with Bosch GSH7 to start off with. This render is quite soft, so it's going through it relatively well, but it's still tough on to block work. It's well bonded onto block work. We've actually got to fetch this off because we've got a fracture through the block work which needs stitching with the stainless rods, so we're going to do that. But obviously hacking this off where it's well bonded to block is difficult, but with that high impact 13 joules, that is stripping it off nicely. Now we're going to switch over to the Hitachi, which is 8.5 joules and weighs just shy of 1 kilo less, so it's still near enough the same weight. But I'm going to show you the difference between the two, because it just takes longer, it's more time consuming. There you I think the difference actually between those two is that this has got a higher RPM. The Hitachi's got slightly higher RPM on top whack than Bosch, possibly. I have to check the numbers on that. But the Bosch is hitting harder and wants to get through it a bit more than Hitachi. So that was just a quick comparison between those two. As I say, they're making all these new drills and all these new breakers are just getting heavier and bigger, but not actually hitting any harder. I just want to show you the last thing I'm going to show you, the size of the boxes. Right. That's for your Bosch, and that's for your Hitachi. And obviously, if you compare them side by side, they look the same. And if you actually stack them on top of each other like that, they are virtually the same size, even though the Hitachi is a smaller breaker in actual dimensions of it. It's a smaller breaker. And as you can see, the box is the same width. So it just seems bizarre to me that is the way that things are going with these new breakers. I mean, I've used all different types of breakers. I've used the Bosch GSH5s, which are a good breaker, good all-round sort of control on them. I've used the T500s, used the T700s, I've used all the Hitachis, all the old H45s, including this new one. And the old H45 is actually my favourite because of its lightweight and the fact that just the dimensions of it is actually a bit slimmer than a GSH5. But yeah, things change, don't they? And with the new stuff, it's just bigger and chunkier. And yeah, there we go. My personal favourite is the Bosch because it hits hard and you can fetch hard stuff off with that. Hitachi's good, but if it was just a kilo lighter, it would be even better. So there we are. Hope you like the review, and more tool reviews coming soon.